Hey guys, welcome to DreamCoin, where we show how to invest for a better tomorrow. My name is Tyler, and today we're going to be talking about the huge rise in price that Orbsat saw, where I think their stock OSAT is going to be going into the future, and how I think they have a possible long-term upside but short-term pullback coming up in their future. So one of their big sectors that they're working in is going to be satellite communications, and this is a largely growing industry in a lot of different ways, more specifically in the fact that a lot of people are looking more towards satellite internet becoming the future, where we no longer rely on Wi-Fi as we know it as a specific use for our daily lives. A lot of satellite communication and satellite internet is expected to be the move for a lot of bigger businesses here pretty soon by 2025 and 2026. Their specific niche markets inside of this industry is going to rely on a lot of different ways to either communicate with consumers or get data out in media relations or security or anything pertaining to those. And then also looking for navigating landscapes where you might not have cellular technology towers nearby to give you proper GPS readings and stuff, which would be very useful in a marine setting or agriculture or forestry and a bunch of different scenarios where this might provide for more dangerous environments if you don't have those outside views to kind of give you some guidance. Their main way of handling these different markets are going to be primarily satellite tracking, communications, internet, and then even SOS locator beacons, which would allow for a variety of different ways that they could expand their business going into the future. The big news coming out today of why they ran so much during the market is specifically coming from their partnership with Alibaba.com, which is the world's largest business-to-business e-commerce platform. Obviously, if you're a satellite company and you're getting involved with this, is going to be huge for your expansion efforts and looking towards where you could look for possible new partnerships and contracts with bigger entities and governments possibly looking down into the future. This allows them to expand into roughly 190 countries that Alibaba is currently doing business in, and they themselves believe that their partnership with Alibaba.com would allow them to accelerate their global expansion plans and allow for them to expand more into the e-commerce sector. I think this brings great value to them as well, because there's been a large emphasis on e-commerce over the last couple of years, especially with COVID in 2020, where pretty much every form of shopping was e-commerce at some point or allowed for the integration of e-commerce to simplify the process so you didn't have to have human contact when there was a lot more dangerous COVID concerns. And this sets them up for a potential rise in the long distance future of where they could see mass expansion with the ability to add on what they're currently dealing in. As we look at the actual market cap of OSAT, they're sitting around 51.26 million based on their current price of $9.07 in after hours. And this is obviously fairly low for what they're dealing with in satellite technology and the expansion of communications and internet technologies for the entire world on a larger scale. As we look through the history of their stock splits, we can see that since 2018, they've had quite a few significant stock splits where this basically dropped the price immensely from over $200 where they were trading at one point, which would leave them to where their current price is sitting now after running off this good news. One of their main competitors in this space is going to be Maxar Technologies, and Maxar does something similar to where they can help map out different parts of the landscape based on satellite technology, and it looks to revolve around satellite communications as a whole. Maxar themselves have a market cap of over $2 billion, and they trade for about $35 a share as of right now. If we were to look back at OSAT, this could possibly leave them significantly undervalued. And while I don't want to necessarily give them a $2 billion market cap, I think if we were to compare them to Maxar, them having similar things, especially with this Alibaba e-commerce expansion, it could set them up to where they possibly down the road match that market cap. I think that's very far out. Right now, I'm going to be a little more conservative with my numbers and say that if we could even see OSAT hitting about $300 million in market cap. This would place them about $55 fair value for their current share price. This would put them almost 6 times undervalued from their current price. And so we could be seeing a situation to where they could be going 600% in the long-term future. Something to keep in mind though is that today they did have a lot of outflow compared to their inflow, even excluding their run that they had before we get into technicals. So I could see a lot of downside coming in the short-term future, which is where you are going to want to add your risk management section into your trading plan, because this could still further go down from where it was trading today. The way I'm currently viewing the chart on OSAT, I see it sitting about $9.05 in after hours trading. And the way I'm going to be looking at OSAT's chart setup is where we could possibly be seeing the price settle before their long-term rise to that $55 price target that I have on them. And this is where we're going to come into our first support point, where they were sitting around 677 and they ran super hard, hit a high of just under $15. And since then they've scaled back down and kind of settled in decline through the day. Usually when stuff runs this hard, especially when it's over 200% of an increase on the day, we are going to be expecting some pullback, especially if there's a lot of attention on the stock and different things like that. But even more so, tomorrow on July 14th, we're going to be seeing Fed talks where they're talking more about inflation. And this generally is a sign that the market is going to be a broader red as compared to a normal trading day. This could see some extended weakness from the market trickling down into Orbsat, where we could see a possible pullback to the 766 support area. This would put them as the previous resistance where they were bouncing over the last couple weeks. And so if they hit that support, that's where I'm going to be seeing them bounce. And if they break through that, the next support is going to be about 660, where it was supporting for the last couple weeks. Those are going to be a couple of the downside scenarios I see on Orbsat before we get into July 14th and the next week or two. And what we could be seeing is a solid possible buy under $9, but an even more solid buy on these two support levels. Obviously, if you look back in June, we had a support of around $5. So that's going to be an extreme scenario for pullback, but I don't see it pulling back that far necessarily. I think our bottom right now is going to be an absolute of about 660 for the moment, unless the Fed talks just completely derail this over the next couple days. Short term, going into the end of the year, I could see this possibly returning above $10 again. I don't see it too unrealistic for that if you're trying to swing trade this, but I do think this is a very solid long option. So this would be something I would look towards maybe just adding to your portfolio and forgetting about for a couple of years and seeing where they come up as a company, because they do seem pretty solid in what they're expanding into. And the fact that they're leading into e-commerce on top of everything else they're dealing with is a great sign that they're open to a lot more ideas as a company. I did end up predicting the SPCE price action going into Monday, where I projected it could hit about $60 and it hit about $59.48 at one point. And then I said it could possibly pull back under 40, and that's where it was sitting for the majority of today. So if you are interested in that stock and want to see my long-term outlook on them and where they could possibly be going, make sure you check out that video as well, because I do think they play alongside some of these satellite stocks to begin with. Other than that, that's going to do it for me in this video today, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.